Ayala Corp unit AC Energy launches its first public green dollar bond, raising $225 million, a deal in line with its renewable energy growth plans. With us now for more on the briefing from our Rockwell studio is AC Energy President and CEO Eric Francia. Good to have you on the show, Eric. Welcome to the program.
Hi, good morning, Kathy.
So tell us, what was the reception like for your maiden green bond? How many times oversubscribed?
It was very strong, Kathy. It was oversubscribed. We just listed earlier this week our first 5-year green bond, $225 million. But in fact, just as early as late last night, we were able to upsize the 5-year green bond to $300 million. And in addition to that, we also raised an issue of 10-year green bond for $110 million. So in total now, we've successfully raised $410 million for this green bond, which is the first climate bond certified, publicly listed green bond in Southeast Asia. We're very excited about this, and we're happy to have succeeded in this market.
Do you think it made sense to tap the bond market, given that it is perceived that rates may fall?
Well, actually, we took advantage of this calm situation in the market. As you recall, late last year, there's a lot of uncertainty. So we thought that there's a good window. Who knows what happens really in terms of expectations about the rates. But you know, we can always go back to the market in the future. We've opened a 1 billion MTN program, of which we've already drawn down. We're going to be drawing down $410 million. So there's always flexibility on our part as we time it together with our expansion.
Could you walk us in greater detail on that expansion? Now that you've got $410 million, your green bond launch coming as your portfolio is nearing an equal share of both renewables and thermal energy capacity.
Yes, Kathy, we have a 2025 vision. Our goal is to exceed 5,000 megawatts of renewables, of attributable capacity for renewables, and for renewable output to be at least 50% of our total energy output. That is our vision. It's quite ambitious. We believe we can achieve that. We're now at 500 megawatts of attributable of renewables, and we will work hard to get this to 10 times to 5,000 megawatts. So obviously, a lot of the fundraising that we're doing now is in support of this scaling up program that we have. We will invest heavily in renewables in the Philippines, but also around the region. We're already in Indonesia, in Vietnam, and we expect to start work in Australia as well this year.
So taking into account just your assets in operation, how soon do you reach 50-50 in your portfolio between renewables and thermal energy?
Well, in fact, last year, Kathy, we were already at 48% renewables. We generated 2,800 gigawatt hours of energy output attributable to AC Energy, of which 48% was renewable. So we're almost there. Having said that, we have some thermal plants that are coming online this year and next year, so that may tip the balance more in favor of thermal. But what we're doing is we're gradually value realizing, selling down our thermal assets, and at the same time recycle this capital and invest into renewables. So hopefully we could maintain that balance, if not exceed that by 2025.
Yeah, in fact, 2 of those plants coming online this year, Kauswagan and Diningin. How then do you get back into that balanced mix by 2025 when they come online? Do you sell down more of your assets? Like you sold 60% stake of AA Thermal to Aboitiz Power? Or are you going to be going big on acquisitions?
Yes, that's part of the plan. We will gradually sell down the plants when it makes sense on a gradual basis. Yes, Kathy. So do expect us to look further towards for these opportunities to maintain that balance.
So have you found a partner for the Kauswagan project?
Yeah, the Kauswagan, we're now focusing on completing the construction. As we said a couple of weeks ago, we're not in active talks about third-party investors. We just want to focus on delivering the plant. We expect the first unit to come online in the next couple of months, and subsequently the second, third, and fourth units will also come online. So by the end of the year, we'll have the full capacity of Kauswagan online. That's what we're focused on this year. At the same time, GN Dinginin, which is in Bataan, is also expected to come online second half of this year. So yes, we have a lot of capacity coming in.
And you're accelerating renewables by going overseas. You mentioned a couple of markets there. You just acquired 25% ownership of a Singapore-based energy firm. You're going big on Vietnam. You made a mention of Australia. What are the opportunities there?
Well, right now, Kathy, Vietnam is very, very robust in terms of the renewables growth. The government is very serious in terms of pushing the renewables. In fact, the Vietnam government just announced earlier this week that they will extend the solar feed-in tariff. It's a lower price, but again, it's consistent with the continuous decline in solar capital expenditure. No? So you can really see how serious the government is in terms of scaling up renewables in Vietnam. That's why we are at the forefront of this. We're one of the largest solar developers together with our partners in Vietnam right now. We're developing over 400 megawatts of solar in various locations. We're going to be developing also a lot of wind projects this year in Vietnam.
What about for Australia?
In Australia, it's also an exciting time in Australia. What's happening in Australia, Kathy, is while their market is relatively flat in terms of customer demand, their thermal plants, specifically their coal plants, are reaching the end of their technical life, 40 to 50 years old. So what's happening is they're shutting it down. Like a couple of years ago, they shut down a 2,000 megawatt coal plant and being replaced by renewables. Renewables resource in Australia has very, very strong output. It's up to 50% better, higher output than in Southeast Asia. So you can imagine the competitive nature of renewables. So there's this whole movement that's happening in Australia right now to replace all of this thermal over the next couple of decades. And again, we're excited to play an integral part of that movement in terms of building more renewables and replacing the old technologies.
But why not go big on the Philippines? I mean, you were quoted earlier saying that you'd love to do that, but it's not practical for many reasons. Why?
Yes, well, we have big plans for the Philippines as well, Kathy. We have a modest size of renewable capacity in the Philippines today. But historically, we've started with thermal capacity in the Philippines because when we started 8 years ago, the Philippines needed reliable and affordable energy. Unfortunately, renewables from 8 years ago wasn't as affordable. It is now, but it is not as reliable yet. But we expect storage, battery storage, to be cost competitive over the next 5 or so years. So we're now starting to pivot, and in the Philippines, we're starting to lay the groundwork in terms of, again, developing a lot of renewables in anticipation of storage becoming more competitive. We are in a slight oversupply situation in the Philippines. As you know, there's a lot of coal-fired power plants coming online over the next 12 to 24 months. So it doesn't make sense to build, to add more capacity at this point. But come 2022, we expect the market to reach equilibrium. So this will open the doors for new investments. That's why right now we are laying the groundwork for that and hopefully really build a lot of renewables in the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, a final point, and it all comes down to costs. Aboitiz Power, Manny Rubio, and I were just discussing the energy trilemma earlier this week on this same show. A broader framework for looking at the energy mix, adequate supply, cost of energy, sustainability. How are you intending to address all three, especially the high cost of energy here in the Philippines as you get on with your 2025 goal?
Yes, well, it's definitely a balance that one needs to make. That's why we haven't gone 100% renewables just yet. In a country like the Philippines, it's going to be difficult to achieve that. You need to have a portfolio to maintain that balance of affordability and reliability and sustainability. So to us, we've always believed in a healthy portfolio mix. We have a good portfolio of thermal today, which provides some base load, but we want to really scale up the renewables, given that it's becoming more and more affordable and, of course, cleaner than all other technologies. No?
All right. Well, I wish you well in that search for the balanced portfolio. Good luck, Eric Francia, AC Energy President and CEO in Rockwell, Makati.
Thank you, Kathy.